Hey guys, welcome to Ask Auntie Nella session. I'm going to give you guys a little time to get on, and my counterpart is here, but she's getting something out of her car. She'll be jumping in a second. So I wanted to talk to you guys tonight so we can talk about avoid being bitter after a tough relationship. After a tough breakup, we all struggle after a tough breakup. But while we're waiting, I want you guys to make sure you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I want you to make sure you look on my page for Beyond the Standards. That will be an awesome summit, you guys, for women. When I mean it's a great summit for women, it will break you down, it will build you back up. Come prepared to, get some relief. You may come in there, buried down, way down with, your issues and your problem, but I promise you, you will leave there different. I promise you, I've won every year, and every year it's better and better and better and better every year. The speakers are phenomenal. So you guys have to come. The tickets are $25. I do share it on my page, so you can click on the link and you can purchase your ticket. There's a limited amount of tickets. That's key. There's a limited amount of tickets, a limited amount of seats, and also tickets will not be sold at the door. So don't expect that you're going to wait until the day of the event to come and purchase a ticket. Tickets will not be sold at the door. Last but not least, I'll be there answering some of your questions. We'll get some face-to-face interaction. So come out and, have a good time, and it'll be a bunch of women. We'll learn some stuff. We'll, go through your, trust me, you're going to go through motions where you're going to cry at some points. You're going to, be happy at some points. But come out and enjoy it. And, I told her she was going to the car to get something. She just jumped in. So tonight's session is how to avoid being bitter after a tough relationship. That's tonight's session. I get a lot of in here from a lot of people that once the relationship is over, they're bitter. And what I'm going to share with you guys is going to give you some freedom to release it. Because you have to release it. Because if you're being bitter and you're holding it within yourself, you're holding yourself hostage to their mistakes. And that's not what you want to do. You have to release it to move forward, to be free, and be able to move on and find your Mr. Right or find your Mrs. Right. Being bitter helps nobody.
Right.
It doesn't help the other person, nor will it help you. But what it does is it breaks you down as an individual. Because that's something that you have to constantly think about. You have to constantly keep on your mind. So that's some things that we're going to go through. Send your questions, ask questions if you have any questions. But we want to, hear from you. If you have any questions or, you want to talk about anything, you have anything?
No. So let's wait for a couple of more people to be getting on. Because this bitter topic is huge.
It is. It's a huge topic.
So huge.
It really is.
As women, we can carry that and not knowing that we are carrying that, harping those feelings until somebody do a trigger.
Correct. We're great at, one thing I will say to us as women, we're probably the top ones that will be bitter in a breakup of a relationship. Not always. I don't want you to think I'm saying always, but a lot of times we as women get bitter. We get bitter quicker than a man. Now there's men out there that can get bitter as well. So this session is not just for men. For women. It's for men and women. But most women get bitter and they just hold on to it. And all you're doing is you're tearing your temple down because you're constantly bitter about a situation. If that situation is over and done with and you know it's over and done with, you have to ask God to allow you to get past that. Because if you don't get past it, you're holding yourself hostage to an old relationship, whether you know it or whether you don't know it.
Girl, you just jump right in with
I did.
No questions.
It's been on my heart for a minute.
I ain't got no questions to ask.
It's been on my heart. It's been on my heart for a minute, and I do get a lot of people who, say to me, how do I get past that? And tonight is the night you need to tune in because tonight you're gonna be able to release it when we finish.
Okay, so I got a question. Let's just start off slow.
Okay.
I'm a woman, and what are some of the, I'm not gonna say signs, but what are some of the clues that I should be like, oh my God, I am really holding this in, or I am really bitter about something that happened to me. So what are some of those triggers that you can say as a woman, if you are doing this, you're bitter?
It's a trigger. There's a lot of little things. One of the things I'm going to jump in and say is, let's say I'm breaking up from a marriage. and I've been with this person for a long time, and we have kids. And so we have to make a decision as to how we're going to share duties when it comes to the kids. But me, because I'm bitter May here. So I'm bitter.
May.
I don't want to take the time to be like, I'm gonna, give and take. I'm gonna give and take. Well, you having one holiday, I have another holiday. I'm gonna find every trait or every trick under the book to avoid being nice or play nice. That's when you're bitter. Because if you're in a situation and you've moved past that relationship or moved past that marriage, and you want to get to where you need to get to, doing little things by being evil, I say, or malicious, then you're not helping yourself. You're still holding yourself hostage to that relationship. Because here's what you have to know. Your kids didn't ask for this. So even though you're bitter and you're doing all these little malicious things to your ex-mate or your ex-husband, you're doing it because you're bitter. But guess who's suffering? Your kids are suffering in the process right along with you.
But what if I don't like, say I was my baby daddy and he with his new boo or whatever, and I'm really not being bitter. It's just, I just don't like her. So I'm going to do some things to protect, me and my kids. Is that real? If I'm doing malicious things to throw, like we say, salt in the game on them too, is that being bitter?
If you're doing malicious things, yes, because the key word is malicious. The key word is malicious. Here's the thing. If you don't like your ex-husband's or ex-partner's new girlfriend or boyfriend, that's fine. You could have that feeling of not liking them. But where my concern is this. If you're doing stuff to be malicious, then you're bitter. If you're bringing stuff to the table and you're saying, look, I don't like what he or she said to our kids.
Okay.
I don't like what he or she did to our kids. That's a different scenario because you have a right as a parent to protect your kids.
I just don't.
But if you're being malicious to be like, well, I want the kids to go out with me and my girlfriend. You're like, nope, they can't go out. That's malicious, boo.
No, but why I gotta be bitter? I mean,
that's
why
malicious.
Is that I'm being bitter?
Simply because you're only saying no because you don't like his partner and you don't like him with her. So you're being malicious because you have to get past that. At some point, you're gonna have to get past that. If you don't get past, what's happening is, again, you're wasting more time focusing on how to be malicious than focusing on how can I get past this to move on so I'm clear and my slate is clean for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right.
Okay, so what if I was bitter and about having to leave my marriage, and then now he don't want to let go. He keep doing things to, to try and to control me. To, I guess, more of senses, So I'm already bitter about the marriage, and now he's trying to do that. So speak on that. That was a question.
And when you mean trying to control, you have to give me a little bit more. When you mean trying to control, what is he trying to control? What is she trying to control?
Well, it could be just control a situation where he don't want to let me go. I want out, but he don't want to let me go. So he's trying to control that situation is what I'm,
If you don't want to, if you're in a situation or you're in a relationship or a marriage and you want out of that relationship and you've had a conversation with him and you or her and you've said to them, look, I'm at my breaking point. I want out of this relationship. At some point, when you've made that decision that you want out, there's nothing he can do to keep you there. Now, here's the key word, though, or here's the key thing. In order for him to be able to control the situation, you're allowing him to control that situation. If you're done, no matter what he or she say to you, he can't get you back, or you can't get them back, no matter what it is. If you're done, you're done. But if you sit there and you entertain the idea, then you're setting yourself up. Then you're allowing him to control your destiny.
So, in a sense, what is bitterness? Like, what do you see as bitterness?
Bitterness to me could be, I'm in a relationship and whatever happened, my mate may have cheated or whatever it may be. Trust have been broken. And I've decided I'm done. I'm done with this relationship. I'm done. But then I'm still holding on to Every time I see him, I think about what he did to me. Every time I see him, I need to let him or her, I need to let them know, here's how you did me. Here's what, here's how you cheated with me. Or you taking puck shots on Facebook, or you sending them vulgar messages. It could be a multitude of things. Bitterness means you haven't got over the situation, so you're holding on to it because you want him or her to feel the way you felt. And so
that's bitterness.
That's bitterness. You're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up to be miserable.
What?
To be miserable. If you hold on to a past relationship and you're holding on to things that happened to you in your past relationship, but you come to me and say, you know what, Auntie Nella, I'm over him. I'm done with him. I don't want him no more. But then you come back in 2 or 3 minutes in a conversation with me and be like, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to make his life a living hell. You bitter. You bitter with all capital letters with an exclamation point. You are super bitter. So you have to get yourself out of that space, because bitterness for me and bitterness for the way I see it is, bitterness will always hold you hostage in an old relationship, or bitterness will always hold you hostage in a situation. And bitterness is darkness to me. It holds you in the dark. And so why would you want to constantly be in the dark? Because what happens is you're constantly riding in this dark blank slate. You can't see forward. You can't move forward. So what's happening is you're walking in the dark. You have no time to think about anything else. You have no time to try and move forward. You have no time to get yourself prepared and clean for the next, person that's going to come along, because you're too bitter and you're standing in the same position that you were. So you're not in that relationship. You're not in that marriage, but you are, because you're allowing yourself to stay there. So ask God to forgive, to allow you to forgive and forget. You have to. You have to ask him to allow you to forgive and forget for yourself, not for them. Because here's the thing. He or she has to pay for their sins with God, not you.
Okay.
But you're being bitterness. You're adding more sin on yourself, because now you're being bitter. You're being malicious. You're doing stuff that's not your character. But you're doing it because you're mad. You're doing it because you want him or her to feel the way you felt. That's not healthy for no one.
Right. So it's more of bitterness can be unprocessed anger.
It is.
That you have let fester throughout the years.
And that can be bad. Okay. That can be bad, because sometimes people have suppressed so much anger, and then let's say they haven't seen that person or connected with that person in a year or two, and then they see them. You don't know how they're going to react. They may lash out at them. You know what I'm saying? You just never know. And that's why it's always key when you move from a bad relationship or any relationship. You ask God to allow you to move forward with a clean slate. Hold no grudges. None at all. Because you can hold grudges, and grudges will do nothing but haunt you. And trust me, I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying this and it's easy to do.
Right.
It's hard, baby. It's a hard process. But you have to let it go for your own self-worth. You have to. You have to.
So you would say, if I'm a bitter person, or I'm just carrying some anger that I have kept inside, the first thing to do is to pray and ask God to heal you from the inside.
You have to.
But I know sometimes speak about forgiving yourself, because sometimes bitterness harbor because of what has been done to us.
Correct.
Because of what's been done to us, and we harbor that because we feel like we fell for the okie doke, we fell for the trick, we fell for this, and we start blaming ourselves.
And you can't, because here's the thing. You're human.
Right.
Let me tell you something, and I'm gonna just speak directly to a female on this one, and then I'll jump in from a male standpoint. But from a female standpoint, we as women, we will give and take a lot. We will take a lot. But what I'm going to say to you is, don't feel bad because you tried to do what's right. You tried to do what's right. They didn't see that you were trying to do what's right, and they didn't honor that.
Right.
So don't hold yourself hostage to the fact that, I can't believe I fell for that. When you're in love and you're in the mix, there's a lot of things you're not going to see. Right. There's a lot of things that people are going to pull over your, pull a wool over your face and make you think different. And you know why? Because we love, and we love hard.
Right.
And that's the key thing. We want to make sure our relationships and our marriages do right. by each of us. But if you've done everything you can do and you try to do to make your marriage work, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't allow the devil to creep in and allow him to have a pity patty party with you to make you feel worse than you are, because that's not good.
So that's more of what would keep us bitter, because we don't forgive ourselves.
We don't.
And move on, because a lot of time we blame ourselves for those situations. So talk to the woman that, okay, they're forgiving themselves. So what's the next step? I'm going to forgive myself, and I want to take these little baby steps. Talk about expectations and coming out of bitterness.
Expectations of coming out of bitterness is, there's a couple of things. You have to know that there's going to be one day you get up and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to forgive and move forward. I have to, forgive and move forward. An hour, 2 hours later, you're going to be like, damn it, I ain't ready to do this. I can't stand it. I can't do this.
You're going to be like,
you're going to go through, damn it, I can't do this. I can't stand it. But what you're going to have to do is, you're going to have to allow yourself to go through those emotions, because here's the key thing. Going through those emotions builds a strong woman. If you don't go through the emotions and you don't do the work, you can't get past it. You can't see a clear mountain. You can't see that rainbow that's sitting out there waiting for you. You can't see it. You have to do the work. You have to be happy. You have to be content. You have to be sincere and honest when you go before God and say, you know what, God, I'm coming to you and I'm asking you. I can't go to anybody else that's going to help me relieve this situation. I need you to give me some relief. I need you to allow me to get past this journey. I need you to allow me to release this bitterness, because this bitterness owes me nothing. And be honest with yourself and be honest with the emotions that you're gonna go through, because the emotions ain't gonna always be happy-go-lucky. Your emotions never going to be happy-go-lucky, but you have to allow yourself to go through the good, through the bad, through the good, through the bad, to get to the great.
You
have to.
And I know with sometimes, and it's bitterness or resentment, sometimes we don't forgive ourselves because we don't take responsibility. That we are bitter or resentful.
We won't ever own that. What woman or man will walk around and be like, you know what, I'm bitter, and have a label on their back? Nobody wants to be labeled that way. There's been times where I've been in a conversation with people and they're like, you know what, I'm not bitter. I just want him to understand where I came from. I want him to understand the hurt that him or her gave to me. I want them to understand that. So it's not that I'm bitter. I just want them to feel what I feel. You're bitter, boo. No, how you crumble the cookie. You are bitter.
I gotta be bitter. I could just.
You are bitter.
I could just want revenge.
No, bitter. Revenge is bitter. That was going to be my next word. If you're out for revenge and you want them to hurt, because here's the thing, it's not my job as a human being to force him to judge his wrongdoing. Whose job is that? It's God's job. So I can't judge. I can only feel the way I feel because of what he did to me. But I can't judge the outcome of what needs to happen to him because of what he did to me. I have to release that and trust and believe that his day is going to come. He's going to have to answer to God. And so that's a thing that you have to release and let go. Because if you don't release and let go, then you can't move and you can't be free. You can't be the great butterfly you need to be and fly. You can't. You got to fly. You got to release that. Don't hold on to it. It's not worth it.
And I can also say that and speak on this too, that from bitterness and resentment, there comes a fear, a hidden fear. And in that hidden fear, it keeps you locked up from loving again. Because of that. So speak to that woman that, okay, I know I'm bitter. I want to forgive myself and stop blaming myself for the things that happen. And I want to be that butterfly and move. But there's this hidden fear that if I do put myself out there, it's going to happen again. So I'd rather stay in the place that I am. So speak to that
But you're staying in a place. You're staying in a place. Listen, you're staying in a place that's unhealthy, no matter how you look at it. If you're choosing to stay in that place because you're bitter, if you're choosing to stay in that place because you want revenge, if you're choosing to stay in that place because you can't decide which direction you want to go, but you want to stay in that space because you want them to feel the way you felt. Fear. Fear is the biggest thing when it comes to it. Because when I think originally when we first started this session, we talked about baggage. It's important to release the baggage. So when you're talking about bitterness, when you're talking about fear, when you're talking about revenge, that's a lot of baggage. That's some heavy weight. And so in order for you to move forward, you have to take time to have a conversation with God and pray to God and ask God to allow you to release some of those things. And you have to speak to it directly. God knows what you're going through, but you want to speak to it directly. And it's important to speak it out. Because when you're speaking it out, you're getting it out your system. You're getting it out your spirit. You have to.
Yes.
If you're just going to say, God, you know what I'm going through. Help me out. Yes, he knows what you're going through, but it's not really helping you because you're not owning it. You're not owning it that I'm bitter. You're not owning it that I have revenge. You're not owning it that I have fear. Those three things will kill you.
Right.
And when I mean kill you, it will kill your vibe. So what you're doing is you say, okay, I'm over him. I ain't bitter no more, but I'm fearful now. Now what you've done is you've taken away the revenge that you claim you think you're over. You're taking away the bitterness that you're thinking you're over, but now you've created that all into fear. And so you have to pray to God and ask God to break those barriers down. It's not easy.
You is preaching.
It's not, it's really not easy. It's not. You have to allow him. This is why, and I have to say this, and I'm not just plugging this. It's important, women. It's important for us because we hold so much weight on us. We hold so much weight. And this is why I say to you, it's important. It's key to take some time for yourself and where you're going to learn how to deal with these things. You're going to learn how to deal with breaking barriers. You're going to learn how to deal with the struggles. It's key.
Right.
If you are in a space that you feel right now that you can't break out that barrier, I'm telling you, beyond the standards, it's going to be important for you to be there. I'm not just plugging it just to plug it.
Plug it, girl.
There's
plug
some
it.
mean green topics.
Yes.
And when I mean there's some mean green topics, there's some topics that every woman in that room will and have and has identified. You will know when those topics are talked about. So it's going to be key for you to allow yourself to get to that space.
Right.
Get to that space and say, you know what, God, I'm ready. I'm ready to release this. I have to release it.
Right.
I have to. If I don't release it, I can't move forward. Because if you meet Mr. Right, you can't see Mr. Right in front of you because you're so focused on Mr. Wrong who did you wrong.
Right. Say that again. You focus on what?
Focus on Mr. Wrong who did you wrong. Okay. And Mr. Right sitting right here with flowers and all.
Everything.
Everything.
Right.
So you have to allow yourself. It's nothing wrong with you feeling like I'll never let myself put myself in that space again. Nothing wrong with you feeling that way. But you can't feel like every man that comes your way is gonna do you wrong what Mr. Wrong did you. Right. That's not the case. There's some good guys out there. I'm just gonna give a shout out to Tanya. Tanya Jameson got a good one. And when I mean a good one, when people think there's no, Mr. Casanova out there, she got a good one. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right. So then, shout out to my friend, my sister getting married on Saturday, being their wedding. So and she is an example of letting go and letting God replenish you with the love and the things that you need and spending that time for you, and so you can be found for Mr. Right.
She
so
took time
found a wife
to work on her temple.
Right.
And as she took that time to work on her temple and cleanse herself and laid her slate clean, baby, God sent her a Mr. Right, and I mean a great Mr. Right. So it's important. That's why it's important to not carry baggage from relationship to relationship to relationship, because that Mr. Right could be Mr. Right, but because you're carrying baggage for Mr. Wrong, you've created a Mr. Right into a Mr. Wrong.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
So you just have to be careful about that.
So talk about, and this is important, having an accountability partner to help you through the process. Most women, we don't trust other women, and we don't have that friend that we can connect to that will say, if I say to you, I'll come to my auntie and say, hey, I'm at this place, give me some advice. But not only that, she'll hold me accountable and say, no, this is your if you want to be from this place to this place, you need to do this. And so sometimes having that friendship, that accountability partner, help you move from bitterness into where you need to be, because sometimes triggers will send us back there. But if you don't have that friend, that sister to push you sometimes.
Correct.
It'll keep you in that place. Those triggers will keep you
You also
there.
have to watch out, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We as women have to watch out because sometimes our friends who we think are truly our friends love to see us in a space that's unhealthy for us. And so they may say unhealthy things to trigger your bitterness. And so that's what you have to be careful about too. You have to know that your partner in crime, your friend, your girl, your ace is somebody you can go to and talk to, and they're going to give you the real. They're not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
They're going to give it from both angles. One thing I will say, and I'm going to say this, rest in peace to my mom. My mom was always a woman that, you know, even though I would come to her and ask her, you know, certain things about, you know, my marriage or my relationship, my mom was very honest. If I was wrong, my mom was honest enough to say, you know what, Nella, you're looking at it from the wrong way. Here's the way you need to look at it. She just didn't come to me and say like, well, you're my daughter, here's what you should be doing. You know what, don't worry about him and blah. She never was that type of person. She gave real honest answers, and that's the piece of it that I had to respect.
Right.
And I'm grateful that she did that for me because I didn't live in a cocoon, or I didn't live in a world that I felt like I'm always right.
Right. And we do have a comment from Nay Danielle.
Hey,
She
Nay.
said, I got over the bitterness and hurt and resentment and fear. I asked God to remove it and work on me.
Yeah.
Once I did that, he came and restored me, and now I have an awesome husband.
Preach. That's a key example. You have to allow yourself to release it because you can't find, you know, you hear a lot of women who say, I'm looking for my Mr. Right. I'm looking for my Mr. Right. My question to them directly is, have you worked on you to find your Mr. Right? You have to work on you because if you're not willing to work on you and do the work, you're not willing to find Mr. Right, because what I'm saying is you could have a Mr. Right standing right here, but you got all that unhealthy baggage that you're bringing along. Now you turn Mr. Right into Mr. Wrong. So now somebody else gonna get Mr. Right because you ain't gonna get him, because you too bitter and focus on everything in your past that you haven't seen that God have sent you a blessing sitting right here for you.
Wow. And that's good. Amen. Send some love out on that. Absolutely. Because the bottom line is we have to look internally at us to release those baggage, those triggers, those resentment and hurt. Because if not, as women, we can't be malicious, and we'll be out there with our all black on.
We're great at being malicious.
Getting revenge.
We great at being malicious. What you have to do is everything that you suppress, you have to allow yourself to release it. You have to allow yourself to release it. Because if you don't allow yourself to release it, that stuff that you've suppressed will come back up, and baby, it will come back up ugly. And when I mean ugly, you ain't even ready for it.
Right.
You don't even know where it came from, why it came up. It could be one little thing. You could just be, talking to somebody and they talking about their relationship, and all of a sudden you boohoo crying and you got, the ugly look on your face.
Right.
It's simply because you suppressed so much.
Right.
And because you've suppressed it, you've allowed yourself to think, I'm over it.
Right.
You're not. You just suppressed it until something triggers it.
And then talk about how we have to, once we release all those things, don't be afraid to allow whoever God sent or who you have in your life,
be afraid to be vulnerable.
For him to be vulnerable, for that person, your mate to love on you,
Correct.
Your husband to love on you, or your fiance to love on you, because
Correct.
as women we suppress it, but we hate vulnerability.
Correct. And here's the thing: if you've prayed to God and you've asked God to allow you to release your fear, you've asked God to allow you to release, your bitterness, you've asked God to release, your revenge. If you've asked God to release these things, if you're truly honest and you've asked him and you're willing for him to release it, he's going to release it. You can't not release it and then move forward and say, I don't want to be vulnerable. Because if you've released it and you've moved past that, you have to allow yourself to love again. Don't allow a Mr. Wrong or a Mrs. Wrong to control your destiny. Because if you allow them to control your destiny, you will never find love and you will never be happy. And when I mean you will never find love and you will never be happy, and here's the thing. Mr. Wrong and Mrs. Right going out and doing what they're doing, and they still living their life, but you stuck in that space. So you have to get yourself out of the space and get yourself out of that space healthy. Right. That's key.
Right. And so we have about 1 minute left. So just kind of tie it all together. And I'm the woman that's watching on here, and I realized through this this Facebook Live, I'm bitter. I'm angry, I'm bitter, I'm outside with my handgun, my knife, my bat, whatever you want to call it, trying to get revenge. I'm playing all these games trying to get revenge. And speak to that woman and encourage her to take some of these steps that will bring her out of bitterness, or take some of these steps. And it's not even if you're married. It could be if you were in a past relationship
for years and it didn't end.
You could be bitter.
Well.
You could be bitter to another friend, another girlfriend.
Yeah, it just doesn't have to be a relationship.
A coworker.
It could be people that's in your day-to-day space that you're bitter with. I'm gonna say this, Mr. Bitterness or Mrs. Bitterness. Allow yourself to get some relief. You have to allow yourself to get some relief. Because if you don't allow yourself to get some relief, then you're gonna keep yourself in a space that's unhealthy. Pray. Ask God to allow you to release it. That's very important. Ask God to allow you to release it. I may joke and stuff on our live, but it's key to allow God to help you release it. If you don't allow him to help you release it, you can't do it alone.
Right.
Find you a good girlfriend.
Right.
Find you a good buddy. Find you somebody that you could trust, that's going to be honest.
Right.
Wholeheartedly honest with you.
Right.
Because you have to have somebody that's honest with you. Right. Whether you're right or you're wrong. Because when you're bitter, there's more wrong in you than right. I will be honest with you. There's more wrong in you than right.
Right.
Because it's not key. It's not good. And especially if you're dealing in a relationship with somebody you have kids and they're dealing in a relationship with somebody else have kids. I heard a girl in the store, and then I'm going to end it here. I had a girl in the store the other day. I was walking in the store, and she was on the phone with, I don't know who she was on the phone, and she was like, you know what, I'm just sick of him. I'm tired of the stuff that he's doing. But you know what, I sent my daughter over there, and I sent her bike over there, and he told her she need to share so the other kids, I don't give a damn about them other kids. You bitter, boo. You're bitter. Because what you're doing is, now you're pulling your kids into it. You're pulling your kids into it. Why does it hurt for your daughter to allow her, I guess, siblings from his current marriage to ride her bike? I mean, it's a bike. So I say it's a little stuff like that just doesn't make any sense, that you're holding on to that's unhealthy. It's not worth it. That's a bike. It's a bike. It's material stuff.
I brought that bike.
It's a material stuff.
If he
Let
wanted
it go.
his kids with a bike, he could have brought them a bike.
But guess who's sitting at home mad as hell, got steam coming out their head about a bicycle?
I'm just teasing.
We do. We sitting at home. So you know what? More of the story is work on yourself.
Right.
Work on yourself and allow God to work on you.
Right.
You have to do those things.
Right. And that is good. So, guys, if you send and ask Auntie Nella some love,
please.
If you're at this space and you just want a more conversation with Ask Auntie Nella, inbox her.
Yes.
She's down for talking to you guys. She's down
Absolutely.
for giving advice on this. I'm going to say at some point in your life, even in my life, even I have like, oh my God, I am bitter behind this situation, and I had to allow God to heal me. It could have been towards anything, anybody, any place, the dog, the cat, the bird. But sometimes we don't know we're at that space until we start doing things that's out of our character to keep us there.
Correct.
So I would say if you have any questions you want to ask her,
please do.
hit her up in her inbox, like her YouTube page, buy her products. If you're in Minnesota, come see her at Beyond the Standards.
Do.
I can tell you this is some of the topics we're going to be talking about, how to break those barriers and moving from a healthy space in your life. So you can find that man or woman that's your soulmate or true love that God has for you. So once again, send some love before we go off. And God, what's our topic in After Dark?
We got a topic, but let me say this to you guys. Whatever you do, lay Bitter Betty to rest.
Bitter Betty and Bitter
Bitter Betty gotta be the rest, and Bitter Bob gotta be the rest. But our topic for After Dark is being spontaneous, trying different locations.
No, trying different locations.
So you're going to be spontaneous, but trying different locations for sex.
So we will see you in about 3 minutes
Yep.
for After Dark. And Rhonda, you made a good point. Show some love. We're going to end the show on this. She said, let it go. Don't waste your time being bitter and let God heal you on your wounds. Move forward and love again. And we will see you.
Thank you,
After
Rhonda.
Dark.